Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and in this video, I'm excited to share with you the backstory of one of my very first formulations, and that is MunityBoost. Now, by the time I restarted my dad's company, which was almost 25 years ago, I had already been using the plant Lomatium in the form of LDM 100 for about 25 years. So I was very familiar with it. I started using it as a teenager. I raised my kids on it. My grandkids have now been using it their whole lives. And it's something that I have just been using and familiar with for a long time. Now, when I restarted my dad's company, I started talking to many more people who were using it for the first time than I ever had in the whole other 25 years that I had been using it. So I started experiencing and talking to people who went through the one-time Lomatium detox rash that happens to a small percentage of people when they use it for the first time. And as I started talking to a lot of people, getting their experiences, watching how the rash is really, really classic, shows up at about a week, it moves through the different phases, and it is a very uncomfortable, itchy, unpleasant rash to go through. So I started thinking, what does the body need to support it when using this plant for the first time? So I kind of thought, I'm going to do some research and see what I can come up with. Now, I was a young formulator at that point. I had already had a whole career in fitness. So saying young just meant I was new to formulating. I was in my early 40s, and the formulating had been my dad's job. And I really had just brought out his group of herbal blends. And this was a new experience for me. So I thought, okay, the skin is the largest organ. So what is happening inside the body with the rest of the elimination organs that the body is pushing it out through the skin, because the skin is your largest elimination organ. It's your largest organ. So I started doing research. What supports the liver? What supports the lungs? What clears mucus out of the organs? What supports the digestive tract that would match and complement the plant Lomatium when the body got this tool for immune support and respiratory support? That's what Lomatium is very well known for: immune support and respiratory, okay? And of course, a whole other list of things and microbes that it covers that I've since discovered. So I thought, let's take this plant and surround it with other herbs that support the rest of the body, okay? So the very first plant that I thought of, because this is something I've been familiar with and using in the form of tea for a long, long time, and that was dandelion root. So dandelion root is really nourishing, supportive, detoxifying for the liver. And your liver is a very, very important detoxifying organ. Everything gets filtered through the liver. And I did have conversations with many practitioners who'd been using Lomatium in their practices for many years. And we kind of started talking, what would happen if we supported the liver? And so dandelion root was the very first plant that I thought, this has got to go in and help surround and support Lomatium. Now, the very next plant I thought of, because I also love this plant, and I only had pretty limited use with red root, but I knew that it cleared mucus out of the organ, out of the organs, not just one organ. It's good for clearing mucus out of the organs, and it's also amazing for lymphatic support. So you think about your lymph system and how it moves fluids all throughout your body. If you have a kind of a stuck lymphatic system, it makes it really difficult for the overall process of elimination. So red root was right there behind dandelion root. So in the beginning, I had Lomatium surrounded by dandelion root and red root. And we had three very powerful root herbs, and it just felt like it needed something more. So the very next plant I thought of was blue vervain. And I knew about blue vervain because it's in our Artran formula, which is one of my dad's originals as well. And it contains blue vervain and valerian root, which is very good for the nervous system. So here's why I added blue vervain to the MunityBoost. It's a bitter, It's a digestive, it's good for the liver, and it's got really important nervous system qualities. And it actually helps to round out the formula instead of just layer on another herb that supports the immune system. Okay, so think about the nervous system and the support that it needs. And then I've always loved sarsaparilla. I hadn't done much with it, so I did a little bit of a deep dive into sarsaparilla. And it is really good for adding another layer of elimination. And also it's really good for just overall constitution, helping to provide strong constitutional support for the body, right? Then I added, okay, let's think about something for not just digestion, but the intestinal tract. And I've always loved black walnut hulls, green black walnut hulls. It's in my dad's formula Clarkia, which is really well known and used for the elimination of many different types of parasites. So if you think about what's going to support the digestive system down into the intestinal tract, black walnut found its way into the MunityBoost as well. Now, the final herb that I added on here, just because I've always loved it, and it's in a tiny amount. It's only in 4% of the MunityBoost, but that is St. John's wort. So St. John's wort is very well known for people who've suffered with mild depression. This is a herb that we've had people ask over the years if they should take MunityBoost because of the St. John's wort. And what I would say is, even though it's in the MunityBoost in such a tiny amount, if you're on any antidepressant medications, you should definitely check in with a functional medicine doctor, check in with your regular doctor, check in with someone who can guide you when taking anything like St. John's wort. So just know that any information I share with you is not meant to be medical advice. This is just meant to entertain you and educate you. It's all based on my own experience and is my own opinion, okay? So basically what happened is we started surrounding Lomatium with these beautiful herbs in just the right percentages. I brought it out into a tincture. It's actually now been out for more than 20 years. And then what happened, something surprising that I did not expect. And I started getting feedback from people who were using it for seasonal allergies. And now it has become a tincture that people will keep in their herbal cupboard for not just cold and flu season support, and all the things that it does, but also for seasonal allergies. So it was kind of an unexpected, beautiful journey all the way around to that, which I think that's what Mother Nature teaches us, is that something unexpected might happen on our way to creating something for a certain specific reason. So we have had amazing support over helping the body lessen its chances of getting the one-time Lomatium detox rash by the formulation and the blend that is MunityBoost. So I would love to know what you think about this. In fact, this would be something that I know my dad would get a major kick out of, because he was probably helping me, putting little taps on my ear. In fact, the St. John's wort kind of dropped in last minute. It needed to round, it needed something else, and I wasn't sure what it was. I actually sat on that for a while. But then when I thought, okay, when the body is not feeling well, and you can bring something in that will calm the nervous system a little bit, the blue vervain does that as well. But I've always loved the properties and the intention behind what something like St. John's wort does. Because just as a human being, not even as a modern human, I think that all throughout time, as humans have been using plant medicine, and you would go to, your herbalist or your shaman or the wise person in your village or in your town or your community, and you would get some of these deep wisdom pieces of knowledge from them, and they would be able to help you with the nuances of, don't take too much of this, and make sure you're not doing this if you're doing that. And there's a lot of beautiful wisdom that is passed down generation to generation. And what I believe is happening is this is flowing back even bigger, even stronger than it was even during my dad's time. I think my dad would be blown away by the interest and the simple knowledge that we are designed for wellness and a convergence of health with Mother Nature. Mother Nature provides plants and plant medicine for all living beings. We are all on this planet together. We're experiencing the amazing changes that are happening, and there's no better time than now to discover the beauty of Mother Nature and the herbs that go well together and play well together. Something surprising might come out of it, which I totally love. So this is one of my very first formulations I did on my own. I'm super proud of it, especially now when I go back and I kind of do a little bit digger deep dive into what these herbs do individually and how they really support and rally around a plant like Lomatium. So I'd love to know what you think. Are you familiar with MunityBoost? Have you used it in the past? Are you brand new to it? Does it pique your interest a little bit? I'd love to know what you think. So thanks so much for tuning in today, guys, and we will see you next time.